Don't forget to do three things: subscribe, like, and share.
What's going on? This is Nick from On the Block with Nick, a podcast designed to inspire, educate, and inform somebody somewhere around the world. Today on the block, we have Tiesha, and I'm sure through our conversation, she's going to inspire a lot of you. How you doing, Tiesha?
I'm doing good.
That's good. That's good. So let's talk. Where you from?
I'm originally from a small town in Windsor, North Carolina.
Okay, wow. Windsor, North Carolina. Okay. Tell me about that. How was that growing up there?
Well, I don't go that much, only to see family, but hardly ever I'm in Windsor.
Okay. Okay. So you grew up in Windsor as a child, right?
Yes.
Okay. Um, so when did you move to where you're at now?
Um, I've been here in Winterville probably about 12 years. When I had left Windsor, um, I left Windsor as a teenager, and then I moved to Housel and got married. Then I happened to move to Winterville.
Oh, okay. So you married. Okay. How long you been married?
26 years.
Wow, congratulations. That's a big accomplishment. You got to get on and share your secrets about that one day as well.
One day.
So you get married. You have any children?
Three.
You have three kids. Tell me a little bit about that.
My oldest is 27. My middle is 24, and my youngest is 21. I have two boys, they're the oldest, and a girl, she's the youngest. My two youngest, they were born deaf, and they also have they have vision issues. So they're considered deafblind. My daughter has an autoimmune, it's called autoimmune retinopathy, where um her body is sees her eyes as foreign, and it fights, her body is rejecting her eyes, and she takes some heavy medication for that. um my other son, who's has those same hearing and vision problems, he works two jobs. He went to New York and he got a degree in computer technology in New York. He came back home and he works two jobs now. He graduated from Eastern North Carolina School for the Deaf. My daughter graduated top of her class as well, and she is going to Pitt Community College for associates in arts degree. My oldest, he works at Purdue Farms, and he at this moment right now he's being interviewed for his CDLs. He wants to drive trucks.
Wow, that's awesome. That is
Thank you.
awesome. So tell me about how it was when you first initially found out, something is wrong with the birth or the pregnancy or your child.
Well, I was living in Hassel at the time, and my husband came in the house. CJ, the one that's 24, he's 24. He was outside on the porch, back porch during that time, just playing with his little trucks and Legos. And my husband called a house phone inside the house. He said, Tiesha, he said, come to the back door. I said, what's wrong? He said, just come to the back door. Come to the back door now, and don't let CJ, which is Christopher, he said, don't let CJ see you. I said, Chris, what's wrong? He said, just do what I said. Just come to the back door now and don't let him see you. So I came and I stood to the back door and the screen door. And Chris came around the corner he came around the corner of the other house. He was blowing the horn. And CJ had his back turned towards the car where he couldn't see Chris. And he blew the horn, kept blowing the horn, and CJ never turned around and looked. He didn't he was blowing the horn several times and he never turned around and looked. And Me and my husband looked at each other and he was like, we didn't know what to say. It was like, so he's deaf, he can't hear. We just stared at each other for a while.
Wow. And how old was he?
And during that time, he was almost 2.
Almost 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I
So,
doctors immediately and told him, I said, I had been telling you that I think something was wrong with my son, that he wasn't meeting milestones. I was always a mom that stayed on top of things. I said, I know each child develop, at different rates, but the milestone still wasn't met. And of course, he said he was sorry and he slipped through the loops and all this type of stuff. But immediately that next day, we got early intervention. The early intervention started for him. But by that time, he was 2. It was too late. It should have started early on.
okay. So what did that consist of when you say early intervention?
I had someone coming to my house 3 days a week, doing speech pathology. A speech pathologist came and she was doing speech therapy with him 3 days a week. One day out of the week, she would work with me on different things to work with him on.
Okay. So did you realize or did that issue with his eyes come up as well at the same time, or was that
It didn't.
okay? So that was further down the road. Okay. So I know it had to be hard for you. Um, so what were your feelings when you went and you had the third birth, I should say, because you said it's the last 2 that have the special requirements.
Um, we did a test when I was pregnant. I guess I was about 5 months, and they told me that they needed to do some type of test. My husband said no because the test would involve some type of risk to my pregnancy. So by the time I got 8 months, um, the pediatrician, which was my boy's pediatrician, he told me it was probably a 90% chance that she would be born deaf. And I was about 8 months pregnant. During that time, I was taking my middle son back and forth to Raleigh during that time for speech. And for his hearing equipment, that's what he was getting seen at for his doctor's appointments. And they assured me in Raleigh, she said, well, Tiesha, we've been down this road before. If that happens, we got this. We're here for you. If it comes down to that case, we got you. I had been working with my son during that time, doing everything I was supposed to do for him. He was talking. He had learned sign language. So I was pretty confident that everything would be okay. But at the same time, I still felt like maybe it was something I did or maybe something my husband did that, for them to tell me that she would be born deaf. But sure enough, when she was born, they did a hearing test. The pediatrician came in, the speech pathologist, and someone from UNC was getting seen there in Raleigh. She was there too. And they came and told me at the same time that she did not pass her hearing test, but reassured me that she would be okay because they was catching it early on.
Good. So with her, you were able to, I guess, treat it immediately.
Yes.
And what was the difference between the 2?
She can talk, just like you and I can. Of course, there's some speech impediment heard, in her language. However, she's very fluent in sign language. She speaks just like you and I do. She still had to have a cochlear implanted just like my son. She wasn't as much delayed as he was.
So you said they had to have implants?
Yes, it's called a cochlear implant. They have to have had surgery where they cut out actually a chunk of your skull, like behind your ear, and they place neurons inside the ear so that sound goes straight to the nerve and past the neurons.
Wow. So what are you feeling as all this is happening?
Um, I had so many mixed emotions during that time. So many. I felt like I let them down. Um, I had backed up from going to church. Um, because I was going through so many emotions because I was going through so much other things at the time, personal. Um, there was just so many things, and and I remember Reverend Forrest coming and talk to me a couple times and tell me this was the wrong time to stop going to church. That I needed the strength from God to keep on going. So I accepted what was, and I just pray to ask God to give me the strength to go through whatever that's thrown my way.
So what was the turning point that kind of made you revert back to your old self?
Um, there was so much going on with my marriage. I felt like I didn't have many people that had my corner. I felt like I was in it alone, dealing with not one but two children with disabilities. I was overwhelmed with appointments. Um, I was going to her school most of the day, sit with her, sit with my kids and make sure they weren't getting treated. They were getting treated equally and not pushed to the side. That always bothered me. So I was always at the school. I've always been a parent who has been right there. It was just so things that got so overwhelming during that time.
Wow. Okay.
So I know you're heavy in your faith now, right?
Yes.
So you rely on God a lot, I suppose.
Oh yes. Got to.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Like I said, for the viewers, she's very strong, and I'm hoping that as you listen to her story, that she's motivating you guys. So as you're at this point, right?
Hmm.
Everything is overwhelming. Everything is kind of so much. When did it, register? You know what? I want to go back to school.
It registered to me when my son had this, and my son had this woman that was working with him, and she had been working with him since he was a baby. And she stayed on with me actually for a while until the department of public safety came. We had a meeting and they told me that they couldn't do anything for my son in Martin County. That they just did not have the tools or the people that could give him what he needed for his education. So during that time, they told me he would have to go to the school for the deaf in Wilson. So I said, okay, I look, God, I trust you on this. I got to make a change. So during that time when I made that change, I said I want to make other changes. So that's what pushed me to go back to school.
Okay. And what did you end up going to school for?
I I I started with my GED at first. While I was obtaining my GED, I was working. I was doing nursing assistant. While doing nursing assistant, I was going to school for when I finished my nursing assistant. I was going to school for emergency medical technician. However, I had to finish my GED first before I could get that. So I was doing all three at the same time.
Wow. And all of this as you're going through, the stuff with your kids and everything else.
Yeah, because I had to work and I couldn't stop working. And I had already committed myself to the GED, and I had to finish my GED before I could actually get that EMT certification in my hand.
So, how did you find the time to kind of, do this? So, find that balance. How did you find that balance between everything that's going on?
Well, one of my daughter's preschool teacher had arranged that my kids can go to after school care. They was going to daycare. So I didn't have that to worry about. And my clients that I was doing home care with me, they were walking distance. And it was right in my neighborhood. So I didn't have to go that far. Then after a while, my sister came and lived with me. And she told me that I didn't have to pay the daycare fee anymore, that she would watch my kids.
Oh, that's awesome. So you started to build like a nice little network that
Yeah.
would help you.
Mhm.
Okay. That's great. You definitely need that.
Yeah.
So, you get your GED. What's next? What happens next?
I get my GED. I go show it to my EMT teacher. And he was like, okay. And I kept felt kind of sad because everybody had went on ahead of me and took their test. I was the only one. Me and another girl was the only one. We were working on our GED together. And I felt like, because I was the last one. I was like, okay, this looks bad, And he was like, no, don't think of it like that. You are one of the ones that want it. I know you want it, and I know you're gonna pass it. During that time, I didn't have that much confidence in myself, but at the same time, I stayed in those books. I always studied, even at work. I was studying, and he told me, he said, I don't have no doubt that you're not going to pass that test. So I took my test, and I passed it on the first try.
Wow, congratulations. That's a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
That's a big accomplishment. So you get your EMT,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not it. What happened next?
No, I worked with Coastal Medical Transport for 7 years, and I got tired of that, lifting that stretcher and doing 3 o'clock early mornings, and I said, it's more to life than just this. It's more to life. So one of my teachers convinced me to go to Pitt, and I was like, I don't think I'm cut out for school, I don't know. And she's like, I think you would love it, Tiesha. So I registered for a Pitt Community College. And when I got at school and I got involved in different programs and different things, and I found out I actually love school. And
Cool.
I got in different, I was nominated for different honors programs, different groups. I got so many certifications. I was president of 3 different clubs at the same time. I was able to balance all of that. It's just like I found me. I found something that was for me. And I volunteered a lot so that I wouldn't have a lot of debt when I finished school. Volunteering gave me scholarship money. My dad had told me so many people graduate with debt. I don't want you graduating with debt. I want you to volunteer anything that's going to give you a scholarship. So that's what I did.
That's great. That's great. So tell me about the scholarships and how'd you find those?
I actually the scholarships found me having a high GPA.
Okay.
GPA.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was everything start falling in place for you. You start coming into yourself, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
That's, that's good. That's good.
I
So
life around my kids. I didn't think it was no other life beyond them, because my life, they were my life, and they were my lifeline.
okay. So wow. So once you started, coming into yourself, what kind of motivated you to keep going? And did you ever have any kind of regrets about, well, not regrets. Did you ever feel guilty
I
about moving as fast as you were?
I did. My husband was complaining about me being at school all the time. He was complaining about me taking on so much. But I had my mom. My mom, she was there whenever I needed her. I felt guilty that I wasn't spending enough time with my kids, and I came to say, okay, I'm there when they need me. I'm there for their extracurricular activities, award ceremonies. I never missed one. I was always at the school, all popping up, you know, that was my that guilt laid in the back of my head until one day my teacher told me, Tiesha, you are an excellent mother. Your kids are in basically in middle school and high school, and you're here like they're in kindergarten. So that gave me the boost that I needed to know, okay, I'm still a good mother. Even though I'm a mother, I still can have time for me.
That's true. That's very true. That's very true. And I'm glad you found that. So what happened next? You kept going, right?
I kept going. After I got my degree in gerontology, which is working with elderly people, um, one of my teachers looked at when I went and registered for the next semester. She said, Tiesha, you can take you can have a dual degree. I said, a dual degree? She said, yeah, you got 3 more classes, you'll have a dual degree. So I did that, and I ended up
And what school was this at?
in community college.
Okay, Pitt Community. Okay.
I took 3 more classes, and I ended up with a degree in human service technology. Um, when I almost finished that, they told me that they asked me what my plans for after Pitt, and I said, well, I don't know. Do I have to leave? She said, Tiesha, you can't go no higher here. We kicking you out. We're gonna hate to see you leave because much, you volunteer for everything, but we wanted you to do more, do better. I said, so you kicking me out of Pitt? She was like, no, we're pushing you out of the nest because you're comfortable here. When you get comfortable, you don't go no further. So I got my degree in associates in arts, which all those classes transferred to ECU, which I'm at now. So I kept going. I never took off a semester. I kept going.
Okay. Okay. So you transitioned. You had that network set up who motivated you. You had good mentors and role models, and they kind of push you to ECU. So you go to ECU, and what do you start studying?
Right now, I'm doing my master's in social work.
Okay, your master's in social work.
And I'll be doing counseling. I want to behavior counseling.
Okay, so that your long term goal is to have your own practice.
Yep, that's the plan.
That is the plan. That's awesome. That's awesome. You
Thank you.
you did a lot. I'm telling you, you did a lot, and you should be proud of yourself. And I know your family is proud of you. So, what do your kids say now?
Well, it's kind of funny because I didn't realize my kids had been watching me. Um, my son graduated valedictorian of his no, my son graduated salutatorian. My middle one, the one with the one is there, salutatorian in his school when he graduated. That's the second highest average. I had no idea that he did that. They said he wanted to surprise me when me and my husband I got at school. So when we got there, he had this whole speech plan, and he gave a wonderful speech in sign language. And they told me that he was salutatorian.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And my daughter, she like I said, she graduated with honors when she graduated from high school. And she also played basketball. So it took me a while to realize, wow, my kids are watching me. And I had to tell them, you don't have to make all A's. You don't have to do that. As long as you do good, I'm proud of you. But no, they wanted to be the best at what they did.
Okay. So that's just a testament to you being a good mom, like everybody said.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't realize it. And I know mothers, right? Mothers are always going to be mothers. You were their first protector, and you got a special connection. And sometimes, it's hard to let that connection kind of drift away so they can, get out in the world. But I'm proud that you did what you did and you're doing what you're doing because you're an inspiration to a lot of people. And I hope that my viewers understand you know exactly what you did, the obstacles you overcame, and you know the hurdles you had to jump over. It's just amazing to me. It's just amazing to me. And a lot of people use excuses, and I'm just proud that you didn't use an excuse. You know, easily anytime you could have just, you know, laid in your comfort zone and kind of just, you know, said this is it. But no, you wanted more. You wanted more, and you realized there was more out there.
Right.
So
Yes,
congratulations.
thank you.
Congratulations. So is there anything um from our conversations that you would like to share with someone who may be going through something similar that you faced?
Well, um, my son had battled depression. Um, as you just mentioned, mothers gonna always be mothers, but sometimes we gotta learn how to let go. Um, I'm struggling with that, with learning how to let go, because I'm always a protector when it comes to my children, even though they're adult children now. Um, you gotta learn how to create balance. If not, they'll stray away, and the communication will be rocky. With me, I'm learning how to kind of let, but I'm doing it slowly. I tell my kids, mama gonna mess up sometimes too because I'm not perfect. I said I protect you because I don't want anything to happen to you. That's why I'm so protective. But at the same time, I realize that they all grown. And I said all that to say, um, we do gotta let go. If you don't, it'll drive you crazy. But on top of that, prayer is what got me through. Because if you don't have a strong prayer life, you won't make it. You go crazy. It'll drive you crazy. Prayer and faith. But you got to do the work. You have to do the work.
Definitely, definitely. Um, wow. So he suffered through depression.
Yeah. He he's grown. Like I said, he's 24. And he tells me, he said, I'm an adult. And I tell him, you're an adult. However, there are some things that you have to be more sensitive with because of your vision and your hearing. This world is not, people in the world can be cruel. They're not all good.
Hmm.
We started going to therapy together. And unfortunately, he had to learn some hard lessons. And I couldn't protect him from it. All I could do was be there when he fall. And that's what I did. But he had to go through those lessons because I, realized if you don't make mistakes, how you gonna learn?
Hmm. Hmm.
So he learned some hard lessons, and he knows now that I am not the enemy. I'm just trying to be here for him and protect him. It took him a while to learn that because he felt like I was trying to block him from being an adult. But I'm not. I wasn't doing that. I'm just trying to protect him.
Yeah. Wow. That's that can be a slippery slope, I
It
guess.
it is my daughter too because she's an adult too. She's 21, and you know, I guess when they turn that age, they realize, okay, I'm an adult. I'm not a kid. I'm not a baby. Treat me as an adult, but at the same time, they do have limitations.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm going through now. Just I'm learning how to back off.
Okay. Okay. So, you said they're living by themselves.
No, they're here with me. My oldest son, he has two kids, and he lives with his girlfriend. The two youngest ones, they live with me. I've Christopher, he has two jobs. He's very independent. He's showing me that he's independent. And my daughter, she was going to school and working, but it got a little too much for her to handle. And so now she just goes to school.
Okay. And what is she going to school for?
Um, human service technology.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
they change it later, but that's what she's doing now.
Okay. I know you're proud of him.
I am. At first, I was kind of afraid of her going to school. I said, the kids are so mean and cruel. I was wondering would it be overwhelming for her, but you know what? She's acing her classes. She's doing so good.
That's good. Did she have problems, or both of them have any problems with bullying?
Well, she had problems with bullying in high school, and
Really?
he had it too. And he was at the school for the deaf, and he had major issues there.
Really?
One issue, the police got called on me when I went to the school, but I didn't get arrested. They understood where I was coming from.
So you went in there ready to go at it, huh?
I went in there, and he came home one day, and he had a footprint in his back.
What?
He had a shoe print in his back. I called my husband from work, and I told him, "You better get off, and you better get off work right now. No excuses." So when he got there, we went to Wilson, and he said, "I hope you calm down by the time you get there, or they're gonna lock you up." I said, "Well, I can't tell you what's gonna happen right now." So when I got out of the car, I talked to the principal, and it just led to him. He was just talking smack, and I was like, "Why? No one ever sees when something happens to him." The nurse came in, which was a close friend of CJ's, and she told me exactly what happened. Needless
Hmm.
to say, that principal, he had to do an early retire. He retired early the next week. He was gone.
Oh, he should have been gone.
He was gone. There were some other things that some more parents came forth after this incident.
Wow.
After this incident happened, there was more parents that came forth and was telling different stories. And a coach was put in the middle of it, and he had to tell the truth.
Hmm.
So it went smooth sailing then, and my daughter, a little boy, I guess he was liking her or mad because she was good in basketball. I have no idea what it was, but one day he hit her with her glasses on, and she came home with a scratch on her forehead.
Mm.
And they suspended him for the whole year.
Yeah.
And after that, she had no more problems either. But they have both faced bullying, and that's something that is I just would not tolerate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
got through it. They got through it.
that's good. They are really strong. They are really strong. You
They
as well.
they had to be.
Wow. I wouldn't think, bullying would be a factor, you know, in those schools.
It was, and I had to call the bullying coordinator here in Pitt County. We left here, me and about 15 more other people. We had a big meeting with the Board of Education in in Wilson. I said something has to be done. These teachers have to be trained, and it all boiled down to the teachers had no knowledge of how to train those kids to keep their hands to themselves. It was other things going on too that shouldn't have been going on, but the teachers were not knowledgeable enough to handle it. So in the meeting, the teachers end up coming forth and saying, "Well, how do we handle this? Well, how do we handle that?" Their their communication skills are not there because it was deaf kids. So
Hmm.
they end up getting training to know how to handle different situations at the school. So because they was talking about closing down the school because of the incidents that were happening, but
Hmm.
end up getting trained the training they need to keep the school open with the parents' help.
Okay. Okay.
They
Good.
arranged all of that with a friend of mine.
Wow. So you're an activist as well.
Yes, I am.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So I want to go back real quick, because I wanted to ask you about this question. When it came to the healthcare for the kids. get them in the right schools, the right, health treatments and all this other stuff. How was that? Was that difficult finding funding for it, or how did that play out?
It was hard because for one, um, when I left Williamson, they told me I had to move to Greenville in order for him to get help. Greenville was more expensive. I knew it was. So I took a leap of faith. We were paying more rent, and I had to, I had I had teachers that was helping me also. This woman named Paulette, she was helping me. She was my front and my back. She was my go-getter. And as far as the doctors and stuff, they already had that arranged. That was already, I didn't have to worry about that. I had already had that set in motion.
So they already had everything set up for you, so you didn't really have to do too much on that part.
All I had to do was find a place. I
Okay.
I wanted to be in a good part of town. So where we
Hmm.
were at, it was very, very expensive.
Okay, that's
But
awesome.
that wasn't too hard.
Okay, that's good. And who's that?
This is my grandson who I'm raising.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, wow. So you're also raising a grandson now.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is was it any other, I guess, any worries about the grandson having any issues?
We had him tested and his little sister tested when they were both born, and they had no issues.
Okay, that's good.
And I want to go back for a minute. Eventually, I got tired of paying the high rent in Pitt County, so I told my husband, I'm tired of paying somebody else's mortgage. I want my own mortgage. So we went through the steps of purchasing our own home.
Okay, so first time homeowner.
Yes.
Wow. And how was that? After, everywhere from where you came from to purchasing your first home, right? What did you feel? I know you had to have a awesome feeling.
I said the first thing I just couldn't. The only words I could get to come out was, Lord, I thank you. I thank you. I thank you from where I came from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. That is great. That is awesome.
I mean, I got people that remind me sometimes from where I came from, and they don't have good intentions saying it. But I said, you know what? I'm glad you remind me because I haven't forgotten. I have
Mm-hmm.
where I came from.
I bet that still fuels you and motivates you to keep going further.
And it does.
Wow. So, do you have any goals of maybe doing more in your community? Because, like I said, you're definitely a great example, and you might be a good leader as well for your community. You have any plans of doing that?
Well, I've done a couple things in the community. I volunteered at an adult daycare home facility where it keeps the elderly clients from going to nursing homes. They have somewhere to go during the day. I volunteer with them. I always call the coordinator and ask the coordinator, is there anything you need? Paper plates, tissue, napkins, Clorox, whatever. If she tells me she needs things, I take it down there. One day, I plan to have my own adult daycare facility for elderly adults. That's my goal. That's my next goal. I want to
Okay.
yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. That is really great. That is really great. All right. Well, we got the block hot with our conversation, and we're gonna wrap it up. It was good talking to you. Again, you can
Thank
always come on. You can always come on and let me know what you're doing next, or the next big thing that you've done, because I know through our conversation you're not done yet.
No,
You're not done yet.
as long as God allows, I won't be done.
That's great. That is so great. All right, viewers, I hope this conversation inspired you, and we out.